Hi, everyone. My name is Clayton Steward, and I am this year's Candace Vice President. We are so happy to be able to host this virtual meeting of the Fall Leadership Conference. Again, we're so sorry that we could not meet in person, but we are happy to be able to host some workshops and to get together for some live events in the evenings. We have a great keynote speaker that'll be coming on Wednesday to speak to all of us. So we have a lot of fun things planned, and this is only day one. So stay tuned. Like I said, my name's Clayton, and my workshop is over internships. I think internships are greatly important, especially in the business world, as well as many other fields. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so you want to be an intern. Great. You've already taken the first step in realizing that you want to elevate where you are in your career. Whether you are a high school student, if you're in college, like many of us are, or you are freshly out of college, it's never a bad time to get an internship. Some fields, actually, people will say the more internships, the better. So really, it just depends on you, where you are in life, and where your capabilities to have an internship lie. Because not all internship, in fact, most internships are not paid. So that's just something to be aware of. But totally up to you. But we're going to look at 5 things that I think are important to discuss when looking at internships and why internships. And those things are how to prepare, where to look for internships, why research is so important, what to do on the job, and how to use an internship in your favor down the road. So those are the 5 things, 5 areas we're going to talk about. Hopefully you enjoy this presentation. So my internship experience, first I just wanted to give my background in having an internship. So over the summer, I worked at the Wildcat Sanctuary in Sandstone, Minnesota. So new town, new state. Um, I had no idea what I was getting myself into to an extent. I had definitely talked to my boss and his boss, and it sounded like a great fit for me. And I was extremely excited. But the thing about it, I was traveling 8 hours north to a place, like I said, I'd never been, new state. So there was a lot of unknowns, and those unknowns weren't going to be answered until I got there. But I took the leap of faith. I went for it, and it really paid off in the end. So, besides the fact that I was living in an intern house, which granted, this is amazing that an internship offered free housing. So, I was actually living in a house with the rest of this cohort of interns. There was 8 of us in the house, 7 people I was living with. When I say people, I should say 7 girls. I was living in a house of 7 women. So, it was an amazing experience, nothing that I had ever assumed would be like. Um, one guy, 7 girls, one bathroom, all on the same work schedule, all working at the same place, all trying to live in harmony. So, but it was amazing. I loved everyone I lived and worked with. So, but that's just a funny story kind of involved with having an internship and not knowing what exactly you're getting yourself into until you get there. The other thing with my internship was I learned a ton. I really did. My boss, his name was Judson. Judson was amazing. He taught me so much. And the thing about it, my internship was a media internship. I want to be a photojournalist. So this was a great place to be behind a camera, get my images out in front of thousands of people. So it was an amazing experience in terms of that. But it pushed my limits. It did. I was doing things and saying yes to things that I normally would have said, no, I don't think I can handle that. But because it was an internship, I was only there for 2 months. Yes was always the right answer. So I always tried to make sure I was saying yes, unless I just absolutely could not handle it. So definitely learning a lot, pushing your limits, those are things you want to look for in an internship. And at the end of the day, I will say this, and this is a very true statement, but the internship at the Wildcat Sanctuary was one of the best experiences of my life. Both the fact that I was living in one of the most beautiful places in Minnesota, but I was working with great people, like I said, learning a lot. And it really paid off in the end for my time that I was able to give there. So that's just a little bit about my internship experience. I have had an internship, and I just wanted to make sure you guys knew my side of things going into this presentation as well. So the first area, like I said, is preparation. So I'm not going to go too in depth into this, only because of the fact tomorrow, Randy Robinson, definitely an expert in the field. He is very knowledgeable about what you should do. Some tips and tricks is what he's going to be giving you for internships. So he is most certainly more knowledgeable than I am, but I just wanted to make it aware that you need to make sure you have a solid resume. So something that you want to look for is your internship is going to be most likely looking at your resume. So make sure you're having people critique your resume, you're updating your resume, and you're really looking at what's on it just in case they ask. Next, you want to work on your cover letter. So that will be kind of to complement your resume, but it'll also be able to tell them and give an insight to your life in a way a resume can't. So you're going to make sure that is up to par as well. And again, getting ready for the interview. Sometimes it may be between a few candidates, and it does come down to the interview. So make sure you're ready to give a strong interview. You know how to answer, common questions that interviewees ask. Um, and again, like I said, tomorrow, Randy Robinson will be able you'll be able to view his workshop on those things. So definitely watch out for that. So where to look for internships? That's one question that I had, especially when I was ready to, say, okay, this summer I want an internship, but where do I look? So the first place I started was asking around to my professors, especially we have a great sports management program here at St. Mary. So I know that professor, his name is Professor Zimmerman. He is always the person that his students are going to ask for internships and about internships because he has made great connections throughout his career. And my professors are the same way in the journalism department and the business department. So definitely reach out to them first. You'd be surprised some of the areas that your professors have connections with. And again, like I'm going to say multiple times throughout this, it doesn't hurt to ask, and the worst thing they can say is no, or they don't have any leads. But definitely ask your professors, they're there to help you. The next point is Handshake and Indeed Jobs, other job search websites. I found my internship through Handshake, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was through Handshake. They had a posting about media interns through the Wildcat Sanctuary. And that's where I found my job over the summer. So definitely look there. It's a great place to search for what you're looking for, certain geographic locations, if that is something you have in mind, length of internships, all those things are things that you can help to narrow down before you even start looking. And the next thing that I wanted to talk about for this is cold calls and reaching out to local businesses. So those are great ways, and I don't think those are utilized enough for people to have an internship, get an internship, especially local in your area. I think people kind of overlook that possibility. So actually, when I was in high school, I think I was going from my junior to senior year. I had job shadowed at the hospital in my hometown, definitely not in the medical part. That is not my area of study or interest, but we have an amazing marketing department at my hospital back home. And I just, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to ask. I'm just going to see what they say. I didn't see any interns. I didn't know if that was a thing. So I just sent them an email. And I said, hey, do you think it'd be possible this summer if I was an intern for you? They said, sure. We have never had an intern before. We don't know what that would look like, but if you would like to be an intern and be patient with us, we would love to have you. So that's a perfect example. It was a cold call, essentially. I was reaching out to a local business, didn't know what they were going to say. And at the end of the day, it really paid off for me as a young student, as a young adult, especially moving forward with looking at colleges and all those things, because it really gave me the taste of what the professional field looked like in that area. So those are all great places to look and to start your search for internships. The next area is research. So you're definitely, if there's any Office fans out there, you're going to get this next reference. So if you recognize these three, and granted, I know this is kind of a blurry picture, but if you recognize these three from the television show The Office, you know that they didn't really walk away from their internship with much good things to say, and they probably didn't learn much and experience much more than getting coffee, running papers, doing whatever. So you're definitely going to want to do some research. Figure out what type of work environment you're getting yourself into, what other interns have experienced. For myself, over the summer when I was going to be the media intern at the Wildcat Sanctuary, I had accepted it, and literally like a few weeks after, Tiger King came out. I understand after watching Tiger King later that I was like, okay, yes, this probably would make people think, oh, that's similar. Definitely not the same thing by any means at all. But I had friends actually like coming to me and saying, Clayton, like, we are worried about you. Like, do you know what you're getting yourself into? Have you watched Tiger King? I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. So, like I said, I did my research. I looked into it. I talked to more people. Definitely the Wildcat Sanctuary is so much more different than Tiger King, if anyone has watched it on Netflix. But do your research, because it will be important to know that you are getting yourself into a corporation, a business, whatever, and you're going to get something out of it yourself. You're not going to be pouring in and not receiving anything out of it in the end. So look into that, absolutely. So what to do once you secure your internship? So you're going to want to show up early. That being punctual is big, and showing up early really shows that you are invested and you care about it. Going through the motions never is a good look, and it's definitely not a good look at an internship because you're there to prove something. Essentially, you're there to learn something, of course, but you're also there to prove something. You want to work hard. You always want to be the yes man, as I say. You always want to be saying yes to whatever they're presenting to you. If you absolutely can, if you absolutely cannot, say no and say why. Excuse me. But say yes, because that will definitely leave an imprint on a boss's mind, um, because everyone loves a yes man. So remember that. Network while you're there. So you are going to be working in your department or your area of interest or whatever that may look like for you, but definitely network with the people around you. Get to know the person that works across the hall, or get to know the person that you share a desk with, because those connections are going to pay off in the end, especially if you're working in the same type of field. You don't know where that person is going to go next. They may stay with the company for years on end, or they may be going somewhere bigger and better, and you're going to have an in with them. You're going to know them and going to be able to say, hey, I am now looking for a job. Where are you at now? Networking is huge. So remember that while you're on your job as an intern. The next point is to try to go above and beyond. That's kind of going back to working hard, but what I mean by going above and beyond is not always saying yes, but being one step ahead of the game if you can. So if you can already be ready to go one step ahead of what everyone else is going to be asking you to do, go ahead and try to do that. I know that's one thing that paid off for me this summer with, a project that I knew was coming up. I went ahead and did all the pre-work for it. So that way when our executive director called me in, I had it already laid out and ready to go in my notebook, and as I presented it to her, or I on the spot, and that really left an imprint. That's one thing she told me. She said, I have never had an intern do that, or very few. So always try to go above and beyond. Think as like, what could be happening? What can I prepare myself for? What can I do before they ask? Because those things stand out. And I just wanted to remind you, don't get frustrated, because being an intern is going to be frustrating at times. It just is. It's the nature of the beast. Most likely you're not getting paid, or you're getting paid very little. But don't get frustrated. Don't get frustrated with your coworkers. Don't get frustrated with your boss. Yes, I would never say stick with the toxic work environment. But there's definitely learning curves that you're going to have to get through. I know at the start of my internship, I was kind of frustrated because I was wanting to do more. I was ready to rock and roll. I was ready to get out there. I was ready to do more. But I just wasn't trained enough to do that. I felt like I was, but I just wasn't because of protocol. So don't get frustrated. It's just how the job is. But roll with the punches. There's usually an end in sight. It's not a job. It's not a real job per se, I guess. But just try to remind yourself that you're there to learn something, and you're also there to make these great connections and to network and to do all those things. So the final thing about having an internship is what happens afterwards. When you walk away, hopefully you're walking away with someone that can write you a great letter of recommendation because you worked hard, went above and beyond, didn't complain, and did all those things right. Some people will turn around and get hired by the people that they're an intern for. At the Wildcat Sanctuary, my boss was actually an intern just a few summers or a few years before I was there. He was an intern. They hired him on because they loved him. They loved his work ethic, and everything that he was for them. So keep that in the back of your mind. That might be a possibility for you, and you may realize that or you may not. So just remember that while you're on the job. You can use your boss and the people you worked with as a reference down the road when you're applying somewhere else. That's very common for you to put their number and their job title and their name down on your resume or letter of recommendation or whatever. And you want them to say, only have good things to say, but have things to say that will make you even more marketable for whatever job you're applying for next. So definitely that using them as a reference is huge moving forward. Again, the thing that people say when you are on an internship is you might not be getting paid, but you're getting paid in knowledge. I'll buy it. Okay, I'll buy it. I will, because you are going to be taking skills away from the internship that you are going to be putting towards your next career, hopefully. So remember that. Remember to soak it all in, be a sponge. That's one thing I kept telling myself early on in my internship, be a sponge. So you're going to be wanting to take everything in so you can apply it later on down the road. Finally, using your network that I was talking about, you're going to want to be able to call on your boss, your coworkers, the person that sits across the hall, like I said. Um, excuse me, sorry. But yeah, you're definitely going to want to use your network. Again, networking is one of those things that is so invaluable, and people don't always realize it. So those are kind of the quick rundown of everything with an internship that you want to be looking out for. So thank you. That's all I have. I feel like this has been a pretty short and sweet workshop, but internships are super important. Not everyone has the capability or ability to have an internship, and I totally understand that. But definitely do whatever you can to get your foot in the door, to figure it out, to try to make it work. Um, there's lots of opportunities out there, and there's opportunities all around you. You just have to look for them. You have to work at it, and figure it out. So I just want to say thank you for anyone that has made it this far in watching this workshop. I hope you got something out of it. Please feel free to reach out to me at my email or find me on social media, either way, to ask some questions, however that looks. So I just want to say thank you one more time. Stay tuned. We have a lot of fun stuff and exciting and great opportunities to learn and be inspired for the rest of this workshop and for the rest of this conference, excuse me. So please stick around and go Kansas PBL. We are so glad that we could offer this virtual experience, even though we are apart. So I hope to see you all someday very soon, face to face. But until then, be well, and I hope everyone is having a great time out wherever you're doing.